Happy Friday, Junior. This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and looking at our top stories. Turkish crypto exchange THODEX has gone offline, and its CEO is missing, with users filing a complaint alleging that hundreds of millions of dollars have been stolen. The report by government-controlled Anadolu agency comes a week after the country's central bank announced it was banning the use of crypto for payments. Reflecting on Earth Day, Ripple CEO Chris Larsen saying that in order for Bitcoin to remain dominant globally, it should move away from proof of work when confirming transactions because it is a massive drain on power consumption and a growing source of CO2 emissions. Larsen suggested proof of stake or something yet to be developed as an alternative. And institutions are buying the dip. One of Morgan Stanley's new Bitcoin-only private funds raising almost $30 million from over 300 investors in its first 2 weeks, according to regulatory documents published today. Meanwhile, Grayscale Investments, the world's largest digital asset manager, acquiring nearly $1 billion in crypto in a 24-hour period, tweeting its total assets under management now total almost $46 billion. Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust is viewed as a gauge on institutional inflows into the crypto space. They are the sister company of CoinDesk. Nevertheless, Bitcoin dominance, or the ratio of the largest cryptocurrency's value to the overall market capitalization of digital assets, slipped below 50% for the first time since 2018, according to CoinMarketCap.com. Bitcoin's market value is about $1 trillion versus about $2 trillion for the universe of over 9,400 digital assets out there. Checking in on Bitcoin, TradeBlock's indexes are now the CoinDesk indexes. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XPX index is currently trading at 53,100 and change. Bitcoin is down over 4% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. Bitcoin and the crypto markets falling along with a broader U.S. stock sell-off amid a Bloomberg report saying President Joe Biden will propose higher capital gains taxes on the wealthy.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Okay, much has been said about the amount of energy Bitcoin consumes, with the University of Cambridge placing Bitcoin's global energy consumption somewhere between Ukraine and Argentina if it were a country. But according to our CoinDesk research team, while Bitcoin mining uses a substantial amount of energy, a good percentage comes from renewable energy, as we see here in this chart. According to a 2020 study carried out by the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, 39% of total energy for Bitcoin mining came from renewable sources in 2019, with 76% of miners using renewable sources as part of their energy mix. And as you can see by the top orange column, you see a lot of hydroelectricity was used widely among Bitcoin miners. Wind in purple is the fourth most popular source in Asia, North America, as well as Europe. And solar is also used, and to a lesser extent, geothermal energy. And joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk Director of Research, Noelle Acheson in Madrid, Spain. Welcome, Noelle.
Hi, Christine. Thank you very much. Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Okay. So on the one hand, it's encouraging to know that miners are actively trying to run the blockchain network on clean energy, but as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In your latest report, does Bitcoin have an energy problem? You mentioned hydroelectricity is sometimes characterized as less desirable as a form of renewable energy. Why is that?
Hydroelectricity has a reputation of being a cleaner version of energy compared to some of the fossil fuels, but it is not a perfect form of energy. There is no perfect form of energy, and many hydroelectric projects have in the end harmed the environment through deviation of water sources, through perhaps even affecting some earthquakes, as we have seen in China, as well as dislocating entire regions. But going back to the premise that there is no perfect form of energy, what we need to do is look at the longer term and think about what is going to be better for the climate going forward. especially
Right.
today.
And do you feel that, at least in the crypto industry, it is progressing in a forward progressive moving trend towards having better renewable energy in the mining space?
We definitely do. And that's one of the reasons why we looked at this, why we wanted to write this report. This report, which was authored by my colleague George Kaludis, looks at Bitcoin's relationship with energy. It unpacks some of the myths, it acknowledges some of the realities, and it looks ahead to the evolving energy mix, to Bitcoin's role in improving renewables distribution, as well as to how policy can play a role in furthering Bitcoin's relationship with the energy industry going forward. And Christine, the chart of the day that you showed before, it debunks the oft-cited criticism that one, China controls Bitcoin mining, and two, China is largely coal-based. Its energy mix is largely coal-based. And we see in that chart that that is just simply not true. The conclusion from those two previous critiques, which we hear all the time, is that therefore Bitcoin mining is bad for the planet. We see that even in China, that chart you showed before, even in China, most of the Bitcoin mining that is done there is done with renewable energy. And China's dominance of Bitcoin mining is declining over time. It's now currently about 65%. It's going to continue declining as the growth of the North American Bitcoin mining industry is taking off. I mean, it's astonishing, the growth there, as well as in other regions. So yes, this report that my colleague George authored is about how Bitcoin is furthering investment in renewables. It's furthering the incentive for policy to step in. We're seeing some examples of that. And Bitcoin does have a role in improving renewables distribution, as well as enabling some wasted energy to be put to a use that creates value.
Okay, so right now we have this chart. China makes up about 2/3 of the global Bitcoin hash rate, which is the computational power used to process Bitcoin transactions. And so you're saying, is China making meaningful progress toward mining with renewable energy? Is that on their radar?
Yes, most certainly. We saw recently that the Chinese authorities shut down Bitcoin miners in Inner Mongolia because of the contamination. Where are these Bitcoin miners going to go? They're probably going to go to one of the many regions in China that are mainly hydroelectric based. One thing to bear in mind, Christine, is many people overlook this, is that Bitcoin mining is mobile. You pack up your rig and you move somewhere else. You can't move a gold mine, for instance, but you can easily pack up a Bitcoin mining rig and move it somewhere else. All you really need is electricity and an internet connection. And we see this in China every year anyway. We see miners moving from some of the coal-intensive regions to the more hydroelectric-intensive regions in the rainy season, which is coming up, because there is, because of the hydroelectric dams that have been built there, an abundance of cheap hydroelectric energy. And this is the main incentive. Bitcoin miners go where they get cheap access to energy. It's their main cost. If the hydroelectric or renewables energy more broadly is cheaper than some of the fossil fuel contaminants, then that's what they're going to use. And this is where policy can play a very important role.
I also noticed, though, in the previous chart, we did see coal and natural gas as being a popular secondary and tertiary use of energy. Is that going down, or is there any sense that there are incentives to move away from that?
Yes, we're seeing evidence of this, in fact, not just in China through the Inner Mongolia actions, but also others. Missoula, Montana, for instance, a Bitcoin miner there was shut down because it didn't comply with the region's requirements of having 100% renewables energy mix. Policymakers are starting to wake up to the fact that they need to get involved here. Bitcoin mining can produce value to regions. Bitcoin mining can bring economic activity to areas that don't actually have it at the moment. What they happen to have perhaps are waterfalls or wind farms or other energy producing resources. If policymakers can get behind this, and they can bring economic value to their regions while at the same time allowing the creation of value in a much cleaner way. And Christine, if I may, one thing that we need to bear in mind, especially now that today is Earth Day, is that this conversation needs to start happening now. The higher the Bitcoin price goes and the more mainstream and institutional interest come in to cryptocurrencies more broadly, the louder the criticism of Bitcoin's energy footprint. And that's not a bad thing. This is a conversation that we need to be having. And Bitcoin mining does have issues that need to be addressed. But what we want is to have a more informed conversation, a conversation that understands that this is changing and that Bitcoin's the criticism of Bitcoin as it consumes too much energy, that's a value judgment. If you don't think Bitcoin is useful, then yes, fine. But it's not necessarily the contaminant that people think it is today, just through the sheer data. And going forward, it can indeed be a force for an incentive for greater exploration of renewable energy, as well as a better way or a more efficient way, perhaps, to economize, to monetize the renewable energies that at the moment are being wasted.
Okay, you know, and it is very encouraging to see other organizations step up to the bat, like the Crypto Climate Accord, which was signed participation with Ripple, CoinShares, and Consensus, and they aim to have the crypto industry run on renewables by 2025 and have zero emissions by 2030. All right, thank you very much, Noelle, for joining us on Earth Day. Appreciate your report and your insights.
Thank you, Christine. Have a good day.
Right, that was CoinDesk Research Director Noelle Acheson. Viewers can read more about that report called Does Bitcoin Have an Energy Problem? Available on CoinDesk.com. Coming up, BTC analysis with British crypto exchange EXMO. Welcome back. UK-based crypto exchange EXMO upgrading its security for user assets recently after a December hack saw about $4 million in crypto stolen. The platform is improving its custody system by incorporating infrastructure from Ledger Vault, appointing entrusted operators to manage transfers to and from cold storage, and also passed a security and privacy audit exam. Joining us now to discuss is EXMO Chief Operating Officer Sergey Zhdanov. Welcome, Sergey.
Hi, welcome.
All right. So, you know, crypto is booming right now. You're dealing with a lot of demand, but also challenges in keeping up with that demand and security. So how are you tackling those challenges, and how are you confident that the hack you saw last year won't happen again?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. Unfortunately, you know, hackers pay more attention to crypto now because, you know, while the price is going up, they're focused more on crypto exchanges. And we respond to this accordingly. So security is a main priority for EXMO this year. We already, as you told, signed a contract with Ledger Vault, and we started to work with them. This is a very well-known provider for transactions for crypto. They, you know, allow a multi-signature process. You can set the limits. You can, you know, set a complex governance in order to prevent the fraud and the withdrawal, unauthorized withdrawal from a platform. So we are working with them now for 2 months, I would say, and we're very happy with the level of controls, the level of security we have now in place. Mm-hmm. We also actually hired a Chief Information Security Officer, which is a very you know, experienced person, and we truly believe he will bring, you know, a lot of expertise to our platform. Mm-hmm. And you actually mentioned we have a custody providers. We now talk to BitGo and Fidelity Digital Assets, and we'll probably sign contracts with both of them.
Okay, great. Well, switching subjects, I would like to get into what kind of interest you're seeing in Europe. You have offices in Russia and Ukraine, but you're based in the UK. So where are most of your customers, and are you seeing more institutional, more retail interest?
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's a matter for all the crypto industry. So the industry is more mature now than it was in December 2017. we now see, larger deposits from institutions. We have a bank accounts and we facilitate euro deposits. So we now see more banking deposits rather than credit card deposits, which is usually being used by more retail users. And now in the UK, FCA, which is the financial regulator in the country, started to authorize crypto businesses, which is also a very good sign because, it is more confidence from institutions that there are regulated marketplaces, I would say, for trading Bitcoin, because money laundering was always the issue for this market. But FCA set the rules. So what you need to do, what kind of policies, what kind of principles you need to implement into your transaction monitoring, know your client procedures in order to prevent money laundering. So yeah, very, very good signals now for the market. Optimistic about that.
Russia recently said they were going to track Bitcoin cash outs. I'm wondering what you can say about the state of Bitcoin in places like Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it is very good. Bitcoin and crypto is a global phenomenon, and it is useful for the countries where local currencies they experienced a huge inflation. So it was always the case. Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, Argentina, they always paid, during last years a lot of attention and showed a lot of interest in Bitcoin. So now we see more and more clients coming from these regions.
Okay. All right, Sergey, we got to wrap up, but thank you for joining us this afternoon.
You're welcome.
All right, that was EXMO Chief Operating Officer Sergey Zhdanov. And that's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Coming up at 5 p.m. is Community Crypto. Join us tomorrow morning as well at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.